Welcome back to another class on Evean Hazaer Halacha series. We are continuing in Siman Aleph. In Halacha Tet, this will be part 3 of the Shi'ur. We started speaking about in the Shulchan Aruch that a person is allowed to marry many women, that as long as he's able to sustain each one through food, through clothing, and through relations. Today we want to focus on the second step in the Shulchan Aruch, where the Shulchan Aruch says, Umikol makom, and nevertheless, Natunu chachamim eitza tova, the rabbis, they gave sound advice, shelo yisa adam yoter midalat nashim. A man shouldn't marry more than 4 women. Why don't we want a man to marry more than 4 women? Kedei sheyagilu kol echat ona bechodesh. Because we want that every single woman is going to at least get 1 ona during the month. What does ona over here mean? We saw this previously in Siman Aleph and Halacha Aleph. On part 1 of the Shur over there, that on over here means when you're speaking about a guy's obligation towards his wife. We saw over there in Siman Reish Mem that we quoted in Siman Aleph and Halacha Aleph in part 1 of the Shur, that certain men have an obligation, so I'll use it in English. Certain men have an honor to satisfy their wives every single day. Other men have it 2 times a week. Some have it once a week. Some have it once a month. So that is the honor. The honor period is put on the guy to be able to satisfy his wife through relations. That's called an honor. So he says over here, the Cham says in Od Yudalit, right? Why do we want you to only have 4 wives maximum? That's in order for you to be able to go ahead and give your to give 1 honor per month to each wife. So that's why you have 4 women weekly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 weeks in a month. So each woman is going to get at least to be 1 time with her husband in the month. So now the Cham explains, why did he have to say b'chodesh? Why did he have to say 1 honor during the month? So he explains, ki stam vesed hu kol 30 yom. Because in general, a woman's vesed, the cycle when she's going to see blood, is every 30 days. At the very least, let her have 1 ona to be with her husband before comes the second cycle. So the Shulchan Aruch is telling you, why do we want you to have 4 wives? And again, he has to also have the means. And like we saw in the Cham and the Bash, even if he doesn't have the means, with her permission, he's allowed to have more than 1 or 2 wives, up to 4 wives. Again, you have the Rabotai go ahead and plug each opinion in. That's what the Talmud Chacham has to do. In any event, to go back inside over here, we see over here, that's what the Shulchan Aruch had to tell you. Why did we want you to have 4 wives maximum? Even if you are able to afford it, even if you want to say, she'll allow you to have up to 4 wives, and you don't have the means for it. Okay, so let's do this one more time. According to the Shulchan Aruch, if you have the means, you're allowed to marry, in the second understanding, up to 4 wives. You don't have the means, but if let's say each wife is going to forgive their honor, you're allowed to go ahead and take up to 4 wives. But why do we give you up to 4 wives? Because Shulchan Aruch is telling you that since a woman, her cycles every 30 days when she's going to see her blood, at the very least you can go ahead and sleep with each one weekly. Comes the Cham, and the Cham adds something in parentheses, in brackets. Who is the halacha over here speaking about? He says, Dahainu ona shotam de chachamim. Over here we speak about the ona, the period where a Talmud Chacham is obligated to his wife. She me'erev Shabbat le'erev Shabbat, which is from Shabbat to Shabbat, meaning from Friday night to Friday night. Kach pirush Rashi behacholes daf memdal amur aleph. This is the way Rashi wants to explain it in the Perek HaCholes, that's in Masechet Yevamot on page 44, side 1. Basically, what the Cham is telling over here, the Halacha over here, the Shulchan Aruch is speaking about right now, is specifically applying to a Talmud Chacham that we want him to have 4 wives. Why? Because since a Talmud Chacham obligation is to his wife once a week, beautiful. 1 week her, 1 week her, 1 week her, 1 week her, and then he's going to go back to the same woman. So now, what comes out over here, it's a whole month. So that's what we say, we want him to have 4 wives, because it goes also according to his ona that he's obligated to make his wives happy. So if he's going to have 5 women, he's going to have 6 women, this halach is going to be very hard to fulfill, because his obligation to each woman should be only once a week. Once her. That means the fifth woman, the sixth woman are going to skip out. But the Shulchan Aruch says we want him to be able to satisfy each woman at least once a month. So Rabotai, that's what he says, go up to 4 and not more than 4. Again, why do we want 4? Reason number 1, because we want at least every single woman should be with her husband at least once a month. Reason number 2 is because we're dealing with a Talmud Chacham where his obligation to make the woman happy is only once a week. So if his obligation is to make the woman happy once a week, how much can he have maximum? 4 women. 1 week her, 2nd week her, 3rd week her, 4th week her, and then he's going back to the first woman. Now every woman gets 1 time during the month, and he fulfills obligation also once a week to every single woman separately. Rabotai, comes the Bash. The Bash says something beautiful. What happens if the Talmud Chacham, right? You're right. We want him to have maximum 4 wives. What happens if he has money? He has 5 wives, 6 wives, 7, 10 wives, Rabotai. Are we going to tell the Talmud Chacham, now listen carefully, since you have 10 wives, now per Shabbat, meaning because he has to be with them, because remember, throughout the week is learning Torah. So we're going to tell him, listen, Friday night, now that you have, let's say 8 wives, make it simple calculation. Now that you have 8 wives, every Shabbat you have to sleep with 2 wives. Following Shabbat you have to sleep with 2 more wives. Following Shabbat you have to sleep with 2 more wives. And so on and so forth, 2 more wives. Good, all 8 women got their onah, their pleasure from you, meaning being intimate with them. So that's what we're going to say, or are we going to say no? Since a Talmud Chacham onah is really once per week, that means for the whole month it's only 4 times in the whole month. If that is the case, maybe we'll go according to his logic, his halacha obligation. Not how many wives he has. Not that he has 8 wives, so he has to sleep with each wife. He has to sleep with 2 wives per week. No. Maybe his obligation. Let me put it like this. Let me make it more clear. If a Talmud Chacham is married to 1 woman, how many times during the month does he have to satisfy his wife? Maximum, how much? 4. That's all he can do. From Shabbat to Shabbat to Shabbat to Shabbat. 4 times, maximum. What happens if the Talmud Chacham now has 4 wives? Tell him, good, no problem. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Like we explained. What happens if the Talmud Chacham now has 8 wives? Do we tell him 2, 2, 2, 2? That means he has altogether 8 relations in 1 month. Are we going to tell him that's what he has to do? Or are we going to tell him, no, listen, since the obligation that's put on you when you have 1 wife is maximum 4, so now also when you have now 8 wives, maximum 4. So you'll sleep with each one, 1, 1, 1, 1. Then you'll sleep with the other 1, 1, 1, 1. And that's how you're always going to circulate. Oh, you're going to ask me a question, but you're not going to get each woman per month. You're right. I'm not going to get, but what should I do? What are we basing it off? Are we going based off woman, how many wives he has? So therefore, if he has 8 wives, so he's going to have to sleep per week with 2 women every single week because everybody has to be satisfied. Or are we going to tell him we go based off his obligation to when he had 1 wife, it would have been only 4 times a month. So to over here, even if he has 8 wives, he's only have to be with them 4 times a month. He'll choose which one he wants to be with every single week. Each week, somebody different. So this is what the Bash wants to take on. The Bash is like this. In Ot Yuter, he says, Ona b'chol shvat, we said that 1 ona per month. So the Bash says the same thing like the Cham said, Hainu imhu Talmud Chacham. When we speak about a real case, if he's a Talmud Chacham, the Ona shelo b'chol Shabbat. That his Ona, his obligation to his wife, is every single Shabbat. Every single, Shabbat. From Shabbat to Shabbat. Here we go, Rabotai. This is the question. Even if he has many wives, let's say he has 8 wives, En mutal alav ha'ona yoter. You don't place on him more than his original owner that's already placed on him. רק העונר מה שחייב כשיש לו אישה אחת. We only place on him the honor when he's obligated to when he has one woman. כמו שכתוב לכמה, like it's brought down later on in Siman Ayin Vav, Uberambam, Ubetur. Later on the Shulchan Aruch passes like that, the Rambam and the Tur, they're all paskin. That if a guy has 8 wives, not a problem. He can have 10 wives for all I care. But how many times is he obligated to have relations in the month? Maximum 4. You're going to ask me a question, Rabbi, but each one is not going to now, if you have, let's say, 8 wives, the other 4 women that slept with him during the first month, now they're going to miss out a whole month. You're right, they're going to miss out a whole month. Because we're really going after the obligation that's placed on him, and not how many women he has. So therefore comes out of here that if the Talmid Chacham has 8 wives, we're going to tell him, per month, you have 8 women, per month, you are obligated to sleep with 4 of them. Following month, another 4. They missed at the month, I can't help it. The obligation is on him because had he been married to one woman, how many times would he have to sleep in 1 month? 4 times. That's all we're going to obligate him. We can't tell him now, oh listen, you have 8 wives, so you have to go ahead and do it 8 times. That we're not able to obligate him. And this is the Halacha in the Shulchan Aruch later on in Siman 76. The Rambam also passes like this, and also is brought down in the Tur, also in Siman 76. Continues the Bash and he says, V'lo ki nemuki Yosef. However, this is not like the opinion of the Nemuki Yosef. Beperek HaCholetz, that's brought down in Masechet Yevamot, in Perek HaCholetz, the Mechalek ben Yivama l'shar nashim. With the Nemuki Yosef, he makes a difference if his wife, the second woman that he married, is a Yivama compared to other women. Maybe by other women you could say this ruling. But when it comes to Yivama, Rabotai, I'll put it to you like this. We did not, which is not also good, I shouldn't say this now, meaning I shouldn't say this teaching at all, because I didn't see the Nemuki Yosef inside. Okay, I'll put it to you like this, Rabotai. I spoke to the Talmid Chacham Yosef Zaurov. I asked him, I said, remember we did this piece, but what was the case? What was the situation there? Again, in order to know this exact situation there, we have to open it up. Our assumption is like this. Again, Rabotai, it might be completely off. But when the Bash telling you that the Shulchan Aruch, the Rambam, and the Tur, all of them hold that your obligation is maximum 4 times a month. So I don't care how many wives you have, you only are obligated 4 times. And then when the Bash says, Udulok in Nemuki Yosef, it's not like the Nemuki Yosef. Meaning what, Rabotai? When it comes to a Yivama, what is a Yivama? A Yivama who was married to a guy, meaning to a husband, and he died without children. So now she falls to the deceased brother. So now if he takes her as a wife, comes in the Nemuki Yosef, maybe we're going to tell you by the wife, since he has an obligation, the brother has an obligation to relive the wives, to relive the husband's, his basically the deceased brother's name. Maybe by the Yivama, we're not going to tell you that he's allowed to skip out on her. Maybe he's going to have to sleep with her because at least once a month, because he has to impregnate her to bring the deceased brother's name back out. Okay, Rabotai? This is our shallow understanding of this case. Maybe by other women you could go ahead and you can say that, right, 8 women, 4 times a month, that's it. But when you're dealing with the Yivama cannot be skipped out. She has to have, he has to have, he has to have relations with her. The reason being is because the brother has to revive his deceased brother's name back. If you're going to tell me every 2 months or every 3 months, depending on how many women he has, when is he going to fulfill the mitzvah of bringing the name of the brother back up? So that's what Rabotai, this is that. Again, we did not see, I'm telling you now outside again, I did not see this Nemuki Yosef inside. It's very important sometimes when you learn and you're not sure of the case, you should always go ahead and delve deeply into their back and forth of how they come to all this. Again, Rabotai, I did not see it inside, but again, if you have a halacha on this, ask your local rabbi. But right now, in the simple understanding, a Yivama is different from other women because a Yivama has an obligation to go ahead and bring out her husband's name back to the world. How's that going to be done? Through the brother. So therefore, you can't tell me skip out on her. Maybe with her, she's going to be one of the women that's always going to be included in the monthly cycle of having relations with her. Even though you're right, his obligation is 4 times a week, but maybe she'll always be one of those 4 women. Okay? Okay, Rabotai. We're going to conclude over here. B'leneder, Be'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow we have also Cham Ot Tetvav and also Bash in Ot Chav. Very small, also Rabotai. But that's a whole different segment. I don't want to just throw it in now. Over there, we're going to start speaking about that. All this is nice, what we just said. A guy can have many women, and then the rabbis gave him sound advice up to 4 women. All this is nice. But, Rabotai, you have to understand, if the makom, like we said in the Shulchan Aruch before, if the makom of the place is only to marry 1 woman, then, Rabotai, you only are allowed to marry 1 woman. B'lineder B'ezrat Hashem. We'll see this tomorrow. Actually, you know something, B'ezrat Hashem. What's going to end up happening is we want to see B'lineder in the following class. What happens if she gives you permission even in the place where the minhag is not? She loves you very much. She's that kind of woman. Why not? Let my husband go and marry another woman. Can you do it in the place where you are only allowed to marry 1 woman? B'ezrat Hashem B'lineder. We will see that in the following class. Rabotai, have a blessed day. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.